what is your favorite thing to study or learn, and why?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I have kind of a favorite category of things to study and learn, and it's the mind over matter stuff. I've alluded to this a little already, kind of throughout my answers here, but that's really why I got into the martial arts in the first place, honestly, was that I am a smaller, weaker guy than a lot of potential threats out there, and the idea that I could learn a smarter way of fighting or a smarter way of self-defense and not be reliant on being the biggest, strongest guy and being able to deal with bigger, stronger guys because I had this smart movement and skill sets. That's why I got into the martial arts in the first place. And so Tai Chi really is probably the best example of that in the martial arts world. That is where it is a martial art that is really expressly designed for the smaller, weaker guy dealing with the bigger, stronger guys. And part of that is this phenomena of mind over matter, where you can focus your mind in a certain way or on a certain thing or into a substance a certain way and aim in a certain way, and you can use your mind to get this crazy amount of physical power out of it. And so that's very gratifying for me it's just very satisfying to be able to kind of play push hands with these big 300-400 pound guys and be able to hold my own, and not be exerting myself, not be panting at the end of our play there, to be able to feel someone's mind intent while you're playing and really to be able to pick up on, like, oh, he's going to attack this way, and have good, smart responses to that before it happens. It's wonderful. It goes back to what I told you about the moments of astonishment. I, as much as I love giving those moments of astonishment to people, I'm all about that for myself as well. And so when I get to have that kind of play and that interaction, and I'm using my mind and my energy, and it's doing these amazing things physically, that to me is just amazing, and I love doing it, and I love exploring those and playing with those concepts. And I think probably it is really what got me into the Tai Chi in the first place, and it's probably going to continue to be my favorite thing to study throughout. It's amazing, and the deeper you get into it, the more fascinating it gets.
Cool. Looking to make sure if anybody's going, oh, I got a question. Okay. So what is your favorite thing to teach, and why?
Ooh. Yeah. So again, it goes back to the moment of astonishment kind of thing. It's really the internal energies, and the internal energies specifically. I like teaching them in all their forms, but I really love teaching it in the push hands, like through the vehicle of the push hands, because the feedback that you get and that your students get right now when the energies are right versus wrong, and the astonishment that they get when they're right, all that, and the fun of the game, that to me is when I can really deliver the sort of the proof of the pudding to my students. That's my favorite thing. I'll teach the energies in the forms, and I like doing that, and I like leading those kinds of classes and that section of class, but it's not my favorite thing. My favorite thing is teaching the internal energies and push hands and letting people play with that.
I have kind of a follow-up question to that. What do you think is the most difficult thing to teach?
The most difficult thing to teach who? Because the most difficult thing to teach beginners walking in the door is just the choreography. I mean, just wild horse tosses mane versus brush knee, and you watch for 6 weeks, people confuse one for the other and come up with some kind of hybrid version that's something in between. And you know, everybody has this kind of stumbling block over certain elements of the choreography at first, but then once they get past that, then it varies from individual to individual, I would say. Probably the hardest thing to really teach is relaxation. For me, that's the hardest thing to teach, because and I'm talking about for like level 1 students, anyone intermediate and above. Again, it's going to be different once again from that point. But for the beginner students, once they've gotten past the choreography and they basically know the form, and now it's time to really get down to skill sets, they all think they're relaxed and they're holding a bunch of tension, largely due to postural errors that they're not aware of. And because they're not aware of it, it's really hard to teach them to correct it. And so there's this, there again, the push hands is just a super valuable tool for that, because it gives people the feedback of what is correct versus what is not correct. And regardless of whether you think you're right or not, if you're being moved all the time and you always feel it grabbing in your back right before you go, then at some point you got to admit to yourself, okay, there's a problem there, I have to fix it. And that, you know, that having that as a tool to help people really get what you're trying to instill in them is really valuable. But for beginners and for the level 1 students, maybe don't have a lot of push hands time in yet, and that kind of thing, it's trying to get them to just relax and release and trust that their body is going to hold them up, and that they don't have to be, you know, in the posture, in the right posture. And by the way, Jared, in order to correct that, the posture is the main thing you have to correct, because the biggest thing for beginners that they struggle with is wanting to lean way out for every move. And then once they're off kilter that way, there's just going to be a whole bunch of tension holding them up.
I found the same thing.
Yep. Cool. You had me thinking about what's some of the hardest thing to teach, and I had a number of answers to that, which we're not going to share today, but yeah. Yep. What is your favorite thing to practice and why?
My favorite thing to practice is to use the mind-body skills, and the mind-energy connected skills, and to kind of mentally add weight to myself, whether that be in the form of doing like an underwater form where I feel the water really crushing down and pressing down on me, or like shackled expressions, for those of you who are familiar with the clear Tai Chi system and have some of that training, to be able to kind of to add weight to me mentally and move as if I am supporting all of that weight, and really get the physical benefits of like that kind of movement and that kind of work, even though I don't have that weight on me. That's my favorite thing to practice. I like taking bricks and doing like a brick in each hand and doing the form and trying to keep it as light and soft and floaty as I can with these extra like kind of heavy weights in my hands, and then take them out of my hands and go back and do the form again, but mentally recreate the feeling of that brick and that weight in my hands, but where it's not actually there. But the feeling of it still informs my structure and still informs my movement and still forces me to be correct in ways that if I wasn't paying attention to that, I might be off kilter here or there and I wouldn't really notice. And those kinds of activities to me that's my favorite thing to do for myself.
Cool. Do you have a dedicated clear internal push hands? By the way, some of these, because he works here and manages and all that, I know the answer to it off the top, but going through the list there. So do you have a dedicated clear internal push hands class?
Yeah.
Talk about your push hands class and practice and
Yes, we do. We have a dedicated clear internal push hands class here on Wednesday nights, right before our intermediate Tai Chi class, and that's really great because it gives the guys, the intermediate students, a chance to come in and kind of play around with whatever we've been working on, whatever piece of it we might have gotten last week, whatever we're struggling with, kind of get warmed up, get in the flow of play, and get our kind of our structure right and our skills going, and then Seafood Clear comes in and we get whatever the next piece of the intermediate material is or whatever else we're going to kind of work on and try to focus in on that night. And so it's a really great back-to-back kind of experience on Wednesday nights. And then on Saturday morning, we also have an open floor class, but most of us use that to push.
Qigong, Qigong healing work. Do you have other, various healing modalities or primarily like the Qigong, Qigong? And do you keep dedicated Qigong, Qigong healing hours? And if not, how and when do you do that kind of healing?
So I don't keep dedicated Qigong hours just because I'm mostly not out there as like a Qigong healer. That's not kind of how I'm putting myself out there. I'm really teaching the Tai Chi classes. And so sometimes people do come to me for Qigong, or they come in with a set of conditions or symptoms or whatever where the Qigong may be helpful for them. And I'll certainly use it that way for those students. Obviously in martial arts, people get bumps and bruises and take impact sometimes that lingers. And so, I use the Qigong much more regularly to help out my kind of kung fu friends than anything else. But I do have people come to me occasionally for specific Qigong treatment, including I mentioned the young lady who, the nursing student with fibromyalgia. She originally came for Qigong. She wanted energy healing, for the fibromyalgia, and then went and she did, and I did give her the Qigong, and I did use the energy healing methods with her. But then we also explored ways that she could use Qigong to kind of manage the condition herself. But there are people in the area here who are looking for energy healing, and I'm more than happy to do it.
And when do you normally get in your practice on your Qigong?
The standard practice is on Tuesday and Thursday night classes when we're all getting beat up. That's my kind of bi-weekly practice for it. There's going to be at least one thing I'm going to have to remove on any given Tuesday or Thursday night.
Yeah. And how many times have you had the healing workshop?
I've had the healing workshop 15 times now. It'll be, oh wow. And I'll be doing it for my 16th time in September with Harry, and then 17th in November. And guess what? Everybody says you get more out of it every time you go for your first 10 times. I'm on 15 now, and I've still not hit that end point. I continue to get more out of it every time I go. There's other questions that I've had, or other things I've thought about, or something lands on me a different way, and I go, oh wait, what about this? And there's always something new every single time I go, for 15 times in a row now.
What are the top 3 most memorable Tai Chi moments in your life? Seen, done, felt, experienced?
Yeah, it's tough. I did type out some notes for myself to answer this, because there's a lot of moments that really stand out for me as being like, wow, kinds of moments. But in terms of my kind of favorite experiences and my favorite things to kind of talk about from Tai Chi in that way, I'd say my first one was we had a student, actually she was a teacher in another Tai Chi school, who came down for our internal push hands workshop, the level 1 internal push hands workshop, and she was really struggling with root. She just wasn't able to get it down below the ground. She wasn't able to feel it. She wasn't able to sense the other person's root. And it disturbed her. And she actually had a student that she had brought with her. That
Thought we were making it up.
Yeah, she thought at first she thought we were making it up. But then she had a student that she had brought with her that was one of her students, and he was getting it. he was able to get it, and she was really struggling with it. And so I put some extra time in with her. I hung out a little late on some of the nights after the workshops, came in early a couple mornings. And I was able to work with her, and I actually gave her the test for the level 1 material. And when we got to that point, she still hadn't, there was one thing on that one item on the rooting skill set checklist that she hadn't done yet. And she got it right then and there on the spot for the first time. And she was so happy and so proud. And I was proud of her too. I was really happy for her. But what was really amazing was when she came back the next year, because then she shadowed me as someone who might be delivering this material and teaching this material and maybe have to give a test someday. She actually watched me as I was giving 2 other people the test. And when we got to the root part, I walked up to them and I put my hands on their shoulders, and I felt them rooting, and I could feel them kind of doing what I was asking them to do, and checked it off. And I walked back to the other person, to the lady, and I started to explain to her what I had felt and why I was going to give them like a pass on that entry. And before I could explain it, she said, "I know, I could feel it." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's right. You struggled with the root thing, and we worked on that, and now you can feel it." And she said, "No, I felt it from here. I've never felt root before when I haven't been touching the other person." And so in just a year, she went from not being able to do it at all, like literally in tears because she couldn't get it, to having that level of skill where she could assess someone's root by feel from across the room. And so that was a super memorable Tai Chi moment for me. Especially, I was really happy that she got it, and I was happy that I was able to help her get it. So that one will probably always stick out in my head. I had another moment that I will probably never forget, when I've seen energy before at times, but I had never seen it quite like this. There was a fellow who came in again for a push hands workshop, and he and I were off to the side, and he had been to another energy qigong based workshop kind of maybe a month or 2 before that. And he was walking me through some of the exercises they had him do, and he was explaining to me what they told him the energy was supposed to do. And he started out in kind of a hold the ball position. And he said, when you're in this position, they said the energy is like inside of your arms in here. And when he held the position, I could see it like a light turned on inside of his arms, like a soft blue glow coming from no visible source in particular, but just glowing there in the middle of his hold the bowl. And then he said, when you move your arms out to the side and you hold them out to the side like this, the energy runs in like a tube all the way across your arms and across your chest. And as he did that, I saw as he opened his arms like that, he still had his energy connection on, and I saw that blue light from inside his arms turn into what looked like a pair of wings under his arms, this blue glowing kind of curved wing attached from his arm down to the side of his torso. And I saw it form these wings on his way up. And then when he held his arms out to the side, it went, the blue light ran across him in like a tube like that, the way he was describing. And I was so blown away that I could see it so visibly, so clearly. All I could think to say to him was, yes, they're right. It does do that. I can see it. Because he wasn't so sure. They had told him that it was supposed to do that stuff. And that's why he was describing all this to me. But I could really see it happening. And it just blew me away. Like I've not seen energy that good, that well before or since. It was just there. Like it was physically there. And so that was super memorable for me. And then the one that really comes to mind, maybe because it's one of the more recent ones, but you were actually teaching, we were in Cashiers, North Carolina, and you were teaching on the different kinds of levels of Tai Chi skill and demonstrating some of the different things that kind of happen at each one of the levels. And at some point you hit the Shen or the spirit level. And when you turned your spirit on, when you really like
Engaged with
that,
it,
when you
yeah.
engaged it that way, I noticed that I could see the energy field around you visibly, not as good as I saw it on Stewart that one time, but I could see it. It was there. And that probably wouldn't have been so memorable to me, except that the other people in the audience started seeing it too. Like you could see, I could see kind of the look on their faces. They started looking at him like, is that for real? And then they started looking at each other. And then one lady actually said something about it. She was like, I can see like a glow around you right now. And it was, and everyone in the room could see it. It wasn't just that like only the trained or the especially perceptive could pick up on it. It was that everyone who was present could see that he had this glow around him when he was in that state. And so that was pretty memorable and impressive. Just on its own, that was pretty memorable and impressive, but it also may not be one of the ones that sticks with me forever. It was just fairly recent.
What is your 2 to 5 year goal regarding Tai Chi, and what are your long-term goals regarding Tai Chi?
So, so I wrote notes for this, and I have personal goals for Tai Chi and all that, but really my like 2 to 5 year goal for Tai Chi is we are writing a book right now, the roadmap to Tai Chi mastery. And so in the next 2 to 5 years, I want to see that book is published, successful, and in as many hands of interested potential Tai Chi students or Tai Chi teachers that are out there as possible. Like I'm just determined that book gets out there and gets in people's hands, because I really do believe that the information that we're putting into it and that we're making available to the public is going to change the way Tai Chi is taught and practiced in the Western world. And so I am just deeply committed to that right now. And then long term, along those lines, is that I'm really committed to changing the way Tai Chi is taught and practiced in the Western world. And I want to do that by really elevating the public understanding of the art and really making it clear what is involved in it for real, and giving people a better understanding and expectation up front of what Tai Chi really involves. Because right now, unfortunately, the majority of people who come to Tai Chi come to it with a very poor understanding of what's really involved in the art. And so a lot of people who come to Tai Chi do so for the wrong reasons, and they end up not liking it, or they don't follow it as far as they could or would or should if they really knew what was available there. And so I really want to change that. That is my long-term goal for Tai Chi, is to make it something that is accessible to everyone who wants it in the world. Like I don't want anybody to have to go through 20 years of banging their head against brick walls like I did to find this stuff. Cool. Yeah.
What about clear Tai Chi is most appealing to you? Why is this the path for you to achieve your goals?
Mm-hmm. Well, not to put too fine a point on it, but the system is clear. It really makes sense. It's transparent. Like there's nothing held back. And so for me, like I have specific goals for my training. I have skills I want to develop. And I know with certainty that I can get that in this system. I can't say that about almost any other Tai Chi system or school that I might be involved in for various reasons. But here there's a certain kind of guarantee that what results you want, they are available to you, and the training you need to get it is available to you, and there's nothing held back. And so that to me that's the biggest reason why clear Tai Chi is the path for me. But also, it's the organization. Like I said before, it's such a great group of people. There's not, there's no backstabbing or politics. Like we're here to share and to grow together, and to a person, that's what's going on in this organization. And I just can't imagine being this big of a part of anything else, of any other kind of Tai Chi group out there. I've not seen anything in the Tai Chi world as great as what we have here. And so, just in appreciation of that alone, the clear Tai Chi would be the path.
And yep, and it says, why is this the path
Well,
for you?
yeah, because I can see the path. because it's clear, and because the training is really is spelled out and it's available, and the steps make sense. That's another thing about it. It's that there's a logic to it that tracks, that makes sense, where if this then that, and then that would follow. And it all, I don't know whether it's that you're a Western thinker and you've been able to put it in those kinds of terms, or what it is, but just for me, there's no mysticism, there's no mumbo jumbo. It's all very practical, hands-on, skill-based stuff. And even the most esoteric stuff, it's that much more important for you to test it and get hands-on and get real feedback and make sure that it really is what you think it is. Because it's clear. because it has to be clear, because for these skill sets, it's too easy for the waters to get muddied on their own without that level of clarity. And so, what I can do with what I already know and what I already have, I mean, if God forbid something were to happen to you and I was not able to train with you like tomorrow, I could still guarantee that my own success and the results that I'm going to get from my training, because of what I know how to do. And I might have to pry those skills out of other teachers in various ways, or I might have to, go out of my way to put together a really big push hands group and instruct people up in that. But I have the tools to do it, and I can continue my path from here, no matter what, because the clear Tai Chi system does not make you beholden to your teacher. It's more about the instruction and the material, and so that's just another tremendous benefit of being in this system and being on this particular Tai Chi path.
Part of what we're doing with the book is to help people to be able to get that too, where they'll know, they'll be able to tell, okay, since I've got these skills, the next set kinds of skills are these skills. And then does your teacher have that? And B, what do I need to do to really start getting that? And then being able to do it, and then knowing what comes next after that, and like that, so that there is a system that in Tai Chi that's pretty, it follows a certain logical progression that when you really know what you're looking at, makes it, it helps for somebody that wants to grow in their skills.
The other thing I'll add, just briefly, is that I didn't appreciate, there is a logic to it, and it's kind of obvious, but I didn't appreciate the depth of that logic until later. The level one, the clear Tai Chi level 1 material has all these building blocks for skill sets in it that are great on their own. But then when you're in an intermediate or a higher level of training, you really begin to appreciate how much thought and attention went into what skills are needed in what order earlier in your training and why, and you start to really wrap your head around the logic of it at that point and really appreciate that, like, yeah, there was a lot of time and attention put into this progression in this training method to make sure that people get the skills as quickly as they reasonably can. I forget what you said that got me off on that, but it's true, is that the not only is there a logic to it that you can appreciate, but there's a logic to it that you probably won't be able to appreciate, but is really, really, really helpful. And it's an important part of what makes clear Tai Chi such a powerful system.
Cool. Any other questions, anybody, for Matt today?
Nope. Well, let me just say that I know I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. I got my start in Clear Tai Chi. The very first thing I ever did with Clear Tai Chi was the level 1 program, and that is available by DVD and online at clearmartialarts.com. I did it as a long distance student, and there's it's the same material that we teach here in the live classes, but it is designed so that you can get the benefit of it, wherever you are in the world, right? From the comfort of your own home. And that's how I did it. And I got a ton of benefit out of it before I ever even met Sifu Clear live in person. So if you can't get out to us live, if you can't get to one of these teachers that you see on the calls, or an authorized Clear Tai Chi instructor, you can still participate in the training. Just go to clearmartialarts.com, check out the online material. There's a bunch of great courses on there, but obviously for the Tai Chi, if you're wanting to get started in our program, Tai Chi level 1 is the place to do it. And so check that out. Jim?
Yeah, quick question. For somebody who is new to Tai Chi and thinking about, there's classes down the street, there's Clear online, there's Clear instructors nearby, what would you say is the one thing that is the most important thing that you will learn in Tai Chi?
From the level 1 program, you mean?
Or from
Just
Tai
in
Chi?
general. In general.
Are you asking me or Sifu?
I'm asking you.
That you found so far. Let's put it this way. Make it personal, because otherwise
If you were on a desert island and you had no access to any more training, what is the one thing you would focus on your individual training to continue developing?
So I was going to say this anyway, for a different reason. And now that you brought up the desert island scenario, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say this too, because I think it would be even more important on a desert island. Ting.
swimming skill.
Yeah. No, Ting awareness skills, and the sensitivity to your environment and being able to be kind of in the moment, but aware of what's going on around you. That skill set, I think, is what I would end up putting the most continued sort of time and attention into, especially if I was really on a desert island and there's anything else there living on it with me. I'm going to want to be aware of what all that is and how close it is to me at any given time. So that probably, but also, there is a level that we've alluded to, and that is talked about, and it's going to be in the Roadmap to Tai Chi Mastery book. There is a level of Shen or spiritual awareness and training that I have begun and started to kind of scratch the surface in. And I would have to say, like, if it was just me and there was no hope of ever pushing with anyone again, and it's just, what are you going to do to pass your time and keep yourself busy on this desert island for the rest of your life, that's where I would end up putting a lot more time and attention in.
What's funny or sad, depending on how you look, or interesting, depending on how you look at it, is if you were on the desert island doing that, and there wasn't any like electronics or anything, and you were able to survive, whether you intended to do that work or not, some of that work would happen for you. The reason why is because in modern life, there's way too much of this. you know, and way too much of looking at screens and way too much TV and way too much email, you know, computers and all the stuff. And it keeps people so involved in what's going on with that stuff, and so many things that are designed to draw you to like focus you, but not in a way that lends itself to your better health and better well-being and mind and body and spirit and all those things. If you're on the deserted island, you wouldn't have any of that stuff. So you would spend a lot of time alone. What happens to people when they do that is either they lose their cotton picking mind and end up trying to commit suicide and stuff, or they end up with a much deeper connection at a mind, body, and spirit level. And so it would, especially with having training in that work, it would want to go there anyways.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. And so the Tai Chi is giving you a path for that. It's not a religion, it's not a religious thing. It's just like your body is your body, your mind is your mind, your spirit is your spirit. Whatever faith you are, or whatever it is, it would simply help you to get a better understanding of the mechanisms for interacting with that. For what you actually have as part of your existence as a body and a mind and a spirit, to be able to do that. And then of course the aloneness, well, if it's just you and you alone, eventually either, like I said, either people go kind of nuts, or you start having a different kind of a level of mental and spiritual experience, somewhat based on your beliefs and your experiences. And in the case of the deserted island, well, that would be your experience now until it's not. So, yeah. All right. Yep. The other one to remember, along with the clearmartialarts.com for the Clear Tai Chi Level 1, is we really would love to interact with you and see you and play push hands, or introduce you to push hands so that you can play and all that kind of stuff. And interactions and discussions and fun times. And the Clear Tai Chi International Family Gathering, which happens the first full weekend in June. That's the when and where to do that. And you'll see almost all the folks that are on this call at that event. And for that, go to taichigathering.com. Actually,
I have something that I'm kind of excited about to share. I just realized. So I am actually going to be teaching. I'll be at the gathering, the Tai Chi Family Gathering in June. And what I'm going to be teaching in 2023 is all of the kind of the common notes that I end up giving to people after they've taken the Tai Chi Level 1 test. So the Clear Tai Chi Online Level 1 program, I test a lot of our students for that, and there's some notes that I tend to give to a lot of people that are very, very common, that are things that ideally you'd be doing better before you took the test, but you know, there's just room for improvement all over the place. So you know, it's not like we fail people for that, but there's things that everybody consistently does a little bit short of where it should be. And I'm going to be giving my presentation on all that stuff. I'm going to be giving kind of the tune-ups for the Level 1 program.
Pointers if you haven't taken, if you're working on that material, right?
Right. And then after the gathering, we actually have, on Sunday afternoon, we have test slots available for people who want to take their Tai Chi Level 1 test or their Push Hands Level 1 test. So here's what you could do. You could actually go to clearmartialarts.com right now, sign up for the Tai Chi Level 1 program, practice as much as you can, come to the gathering, and go to taichigathering.com to sign up for that. But then come to the gathering, see my presentation, get all the notes you need, and then ace the test at the end. And you could do all of that right now. So start by going to clearmartialarts.com. You get the Tai Chi Level 1 information there. And then don't forget to sign up for the Tai Chi Family Gathering in June, which is at taichigathering.com.
Cool. All right, folks, everybody stay on the call for just a minute once we end today. I won't hold you up long, and just be like a minute. Like that, so. Okay, well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, everybody that asked questions and all that. More next time. And have a great week and weekend and week and all that.
Thanks, everybody.